Hi everyone, welcome to A Fern Between Us tasting edition video file. So we are going to get started with a little tasting. Karen, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm so glad. I really missed you last week. What happened? Did you have COVID?
Oh, well, I was just busy hanging out with sorry.
You slut. I knew you two had run off. Well, luckily we have some drinks to get through this episode. So, what did you want to know?
Well, Michelle, I want to know how to properly taste wine.
That is a good question. A lot of people are a little confused about how that works. So, let's start with the basics. You want to start by swirling the glass. That's also why you don't pour all the way up to the top, even though that's what we all really want. So you do a half glass so that you can swirl it and aerate it. That is releasing the aromas in the bouquet and allowing you to get even more when you put your nose in the glass and smell. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that you're going to be smelling from the bottom lip up to the top lip of your glass. That's because you're going to actually be getting different smells in the bottom of the glass than at the top. The aromas are what comes naturally from the grapes itself. And so that's what you're going to be smelling down here. Then as you get to the top of the glass, that's what you're going to be smelling that the winemaker did to the wine. So malolactic fermentation, oak aging, those sweet spices that we use or that we get from the French oak aging are going to be up in that top part of the glass, and that's called the bouquet. So you swirl, you aerate, you stick your nose as far in as possible. If you feel like you're spilling all over yourself or about to, you're doing it right. And take one inhalation from the bottom to the top. Then you go back to get more nuanced smells. It smells amazing. This is our Sangiovese. So then you want to go back and you want to see which nostril is actually working. They take turns throughout the day. And your entire olfactory system is better or worse at different times of day as well. So it's actually the best time when you're fresh and in the morning to be tasting and drinking wine. So don't say I never gave you some great tips. The next part, and the funnest part, of course, to wine tasting is when you actually get to taste it. So what you're gonna do is take a small sip, move it around your mouth, and get your palate acclimated. Not everybody wants to look silly putting it in the front of their mouth, but the front of your mouth is actually a big sensory spot for picking up on a lot of the acids and elements that you might miss otherwise. So your palate is now acclimated, and now is the time to actually taste and pay any attention to it. So for any kind of professional tasting, you want to really move it around, you want to let it sit, you want to really focus on the different parts of your mouth. The front of your tongue is what is perceiving sweetness, the fruit. The middle part of your tongue is picking up on tannins. And that little pinch that you get as you swallow at the back is actually from the skins and seeds and that tannin. So then there's the acid, which a lot of people get along the sides of their gums. But if you drink a lot of coffee or have been a smoker, there's any kind of numbing effect that you've had over a long period of time of doing those things, that's why you actually want to move it into the front of your mouth. Those sensors can be really, really helpful to figuring out the acids.
Wow! Thank you. That is so helpful and informative. But how do you practice tasting wine and get better at it?
Oh, Karen, that is a great question too. And the way you're going to do that is by setting up simple little sensory cues. you'll notice that all of the glasses are the exact same shape. And that's really important so that you are comparing like with like. So for red wines, you want to think of savory herbs, dark fruits, all of these things, and you may or may not find them in the glass. However, it's really helpful to learn how to smell different things like blueberries in a glass. Believe it or not, this smells very different than if you had it in your hand or if you put it in a dish. So you actually want to do the same thing as when you're wine tasting. And the demonstration is so exciting. It looks like it's orbiting. But so then you do the same thing. And smell that incredible blueberry, pungent yet almost floral. It smells very different. And you also want to keep in mind that there's fresh blueberries, there's dried blueberries, there's frozen blueberries, and they're all going to have different nuances. And that is really important to just think about. As you smell it, you're creating pathways. And then you can come back to your wine and see if you get any blueberry in there. I definitely do. And of course, no one is wrong. A certain wine, any wine, can create over 10,000 different stereoisomers. Those are those chemical compounds that the wine is actually copying from our environment. So there are basics that certain wines do always showcase, no matter where they're actually being made and the vines are planted. But there's also a lot of room to play. So another one that's really fascinating is lavender. So this is just a dried lavender. You can get lavender in your herb section at your store. And so many people don't realize what lavender smells like other than your soap in your bathroom or something like that. So this is a really nice, often found in red wines scent. The other thing that is very easy, and you probably have a lot of these already, are your anise seed, your rosemary, and your thyme. These are very commonly found in a lot of red wines as well. So dig through your spice drawer, put them in the glass, go back and forth. Is it something that you're smelling in there or not? And if you really want to get serious about it, start taking notes. We also have a white wine here today. I know that Chardonnay is your favorite, Karen. Chardonnay! And Chardonnay is a white wine that's very common. Lots of people love it. And one of the things that you want to start thinking about, so we thought about dark fruits, dark colors for red wines. You want to start thinking light. So lemon is a great one to learn how to smell in a wine. Again, smells very different in a glass than it does when you squeeze it onto something or it's just purely in your hand. I definitely get lemon in this. There's also pineapple, mango, grapefruit, ginger. There's all of these things that you can pick up from your store that are easy access to figuring out what you're smelling. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And it's really important to just have fun, right? This gets so serious, but have a good time with it. It's really going to make a big difference in your ability just playing around. Nope, that's not in the wine. And of course, I should have cut this open because you can't smell ginger when it's just like this. But oops. And I can't seem to get them to move around the glass. It's a bad demonstration of how to do something. It's supposed to look fancy. What else do you want to know, Karen?
Well, I want to know, how do you taste at a winery?
Oh, that can be really intimidating for a lot of people that have not been to a winery. And that is a great question too. So when you do go to a winery, there's some things to think about before you go. You want to think about which winery to go to. That sounds like a basic, but look at their websites. Make sure that this winery makes wines that you are going to like. Do you like sweet wines? Do you like dry wines? What kind of wines do you tend to buy at the store? Now base that on where you're going to go. Then, if possible, make a reservation. That is just going to simplify everything. Then, if you can, collect your friends, make that reservation, go have a great time. It eases everybody to actually know that you're going to have a table and that you're going to have a specific type of experience. You're also welcome to just show up to most wineries. A lot of them are appointment only, but most wineries these days, especially in the United States or New World countries, allow you to just show up and pick your experience from there. It is important to think about what you want to experience. Are you looking for just having a good time? You want to try a few wines and then have some giggles with your friends? That is fantastic. But if you are in a more serious shopping mood and you want to really do some research, you should have a good idea of what kind of wines that winery makes. It's also important to really treat the staff well. They are working really hard, so don't forget to tip. The other thing is to consider what you're going to be doing the rest of the day. Are you seeing lots of wineries? Then you want to limit your tasting so that you aren't falling down. The other thing that a lot of people always want to know is, am I supposed to spit the wine out? And no, you don't have to. If you're going to be tasting a lot of the wines, which would be, say, 6 wines, and then going to another winery where you would taste another 6 wines, then you need to start being more careful about what you're choosing and perhaps not finish the entire sample. The other thing is, if you're just looking to have a great time at that winery, try a couple out and then enjoy a glass of something that you're really excited about. It's amazing the difference that it makes between a tasting and enjoying a whole glass of it. Is that really your new favorite wine, or does it become too heavy or too light? These are great things to think about as you're at a winery, and don't feel shy about taking notes. And these notes don't have to be professional. They can be absolutely anything that you come up with. If you want to start talking about wines as personalities, you can say, oh, I loved the Sangiovese. It was so sexy. And you can then reference that back and have a cue of your own. Some people think of colors when they're tasting. That's absolutely okay, and it doesn't have to match the wine. You're not looking at different shades of plum or burgundy or these different colors that would seem like they go together. But what does it conjure up as an entire sensory experience for you? It might be green for a white wine. It might be orange for a red wine. Let yourself play. It's going to be a lot more fun.
One more question.
Yes.
You go to all these ridiculously prestigious wine competitions. I want to know, how do you taste wine at a big wine event?
Yes. Karen, you brought some great questions today. There are different styles of tasting for different events. And a wine competition takes a lot of study and a lot of information to catalog so that you can bring those things up every single time you're tasting a wine. If I have a flight of 12 different Chardonnays from all over the world, they are in tasting order according to residual sugar, some amount of sweetness. Also, if it's been oak aged or not, they separate those out. But it could be from France, it could be from California, it could be from New Mexico. But that is an important aspect to have under your belt. That's why not just anyone is joining a competition to be a wine judge. You are fully vetted in order to make sure that you are bringing a certain level of prestige to the competition, as well as the competition being prestigious in its own right by how many samples they are gathering, the rules and regulations that they follow as well. Now, going to an actual big event for the public is very exciting, but can definitely be daunting. We do various competitions, we do various events where, for example, Santa Fe Wine and Chili, there are wineries from all over the world that are pouring. And again, you can start imbibing a little too much. So you want to be careful and you want to think ahead of time what it is you want to taste. So are you going to investigate Chardonnays and Sangioveses at this event? First, you go around to all of the tables. You inquire, do you have a Chardonnay with you today? And you keep going around to the different tables, the different vendors, talking to the wineries, and finding out what they have to offer. If you're doing Chardonnays, keep it with Chardonnays so that you are learning a comparing taste analysis. Then you go back around and do the Sangioveses. You want to make sure that you've done the whites before you do the reds. And another tip is that if you need a palate cleanse, that's when you go to the bubbly table. That is one of the best ways to cleanse your palate and enjoy a new set. So don't forget, again, keep your phone available for notes while you're working on tasting through different wineries. Also pick up some of the free things that they have. If you are able to grab a card, a pen, a corkscrew, a brochure, whatever it is from those wineries that you really like, because believe me, at the end of a big event, it's often really hard to remember which ones you loved and which ones you might not want to visit again. So, thank you, Karen. This has been fun. Hopefully everyone learned something along with Karen about wine tasting. Don't forget, everyone, when you buy a bottle at Vivac Winery, we plant a tree with Eden Reforestation Projects. If you'd like more information, check out our website. It's all there to wow you. Karen, thank you, and cheers.
I don't smell shit.
Karen, don't get frustrated. It takes practice. And a lot of times when you're first getting started, a lot of people say, I just smell wine. Well, that's a start.
Well, I don't smell shit.
Oh, Karen, that's because shit is not in the glass.
I don't smell shit.
Karen, I am so offended. I don't think I'm going to taste with you anymore. Oh no, these are so bad.